Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today, by request, we are doing 2024's Waning Poetic. Before we get started, if you want to follow the show, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Kiss the Reviews. As always, for $2, you can subscribe on Patreon. You get a lot of the pre-show stuff. You get some background on like some of the movies that we're about to review, and just us kind of shooting the shit before we start recording. And yeah, that's about it.
Yep, that's it. That's all you get. Fuck you.
That's all.
No.
That's all you get. We're also going to be doing giveaways. There's all kinds of other stuff that we're going to be doing there. So thank you to all the Patreoners that are already subscribed. And then with typically, not today, but typically with movies on YouTube, you won't get the clips because we have the express written consent from the producer, writer, director of the film, George Massimillo. We're going to be using some clips. This movie is not out yet. It premieres sometime towards the end of the summer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? So he said we could use some clips. I don't like to typically with a newer movie, just because spoilers and things. But he said that we could use a couple. So we'll run it by him first. We'll see what he says.
Yeah, basically for the YouTubers, we already discussed this a bit on Patreon, but the reason we're doing this movie that has not even premiered yet is because the filmmaker, George, reached out to us and asked us to review his film. He liked a couple of our reviews, The Breakfast Club and The Wonders, if you want to check those out. And he said his film was heavily influenced by those, liked our reviews, and wondered if we would review his film for him. So we're going to be doing that. And hopefully, as the weeks go along leading up to the premiere, we will also be providing some fun interviews with cast and crew. I'm sure he'll probably send us like the boom mic guy or the fucking key grip because we're us.
But today we're interviewing the key grip.
We're interviewing the union rep who sat around and ate donuts while everyone worked. So yeah. Basically, that's why this is happening, and why you won't be able to find it just yet. But keep your eyes and ears open, and as we get information about the premiere, we'll obviously be letting you guys know.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, let's get into the cast. Let's just dive right into this thing. So, the cast of Waning Poetic. This film stars Thaddeus Plezia as Ryan, Sofia Dean as Ella, Max Rubrum as Cole, Kassie Kueffner as Lisa, Jiana Casazza as Deb, John Bono as Tommy, and T. Patrick Shore as Clark.
Jeez, I feel like the Italian American League put this movie together.
I was really good with the Italian names.
Yeah, you were. You nailed those. The white people names, you were like, I don't know. Smythe? Smith?
Yes.
What is this?
So I'm gonna apologize to Kassie because I did not know if her last name was Kueffner or Kuffner. That was like that's too American.
He only likes Pisons.
Tom, by the way, Tommy was my favorite character in this movie.
No shit.
What could be more important than that?
Outside of the end, and I don't want to give anything away, but Tommy, nobody likes a quitter guy. Nobody likes a quitter. Keep ripping them heaters, okay? It's all good.
Well, yeah. Well, if we're going to go that way, how about this? Hey, Ella, nobody likes you. So stop being that.
Let's jump into this because so the basic premise of this, it's basically a chance encounter through some sort of portal or something, connects different high schoolers from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So, and 2024, right? So the movie opens as Ella and Cole, twin brother sister, they're in a storage room at their high school arguing about Cole walking out of their high school graduation. So Ella is apparently the smart one in the family who's going to Yale, And Cole, I guess, has decided that having a man bun and not going to college was a better option. So they're kind of getting into the like, yeah, it's not all about you. No, it's not. Typically, your typical brother sister argument.
Yeah, just way ramped up here
Yes.
because it quickly devolves into Ella going, "You are jealous, Ellis of me," and it's like it's one thing to be siblings and have that sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you have two very different. My brothers and I are all very different people. My sisters and me are all very different people. So you will have that little like, we are not alike. That being said, when it diverges into you're just jealous of me and my achievements, it's like, yo, you need to pump all your brakes here because family or not, I'm about to fuck you up.
There's see this? There's going to be a throat chop here in about 2 seconds. And it's not considered abuse because we're siblings.
No, it's not a throat chop. It's an Italian movie. It's a backhand.
I'll hit you with my rings. I'll put all of them on. I swear to God. I'm going to give you one of these. I'll give you a fresh one. So during this whole thing, Clark enters, who is apparently the janitor. He comes in, he walks right out, and soon after, Ryan walks in. He's in a cap and gown. Cole and Ella have no idea who this kid is, and he's talking all 90s, bro. And they see that his cap says 1996. They argue about wormholes and if someone's playing a prank for a second. And I did have a question here about this scene. Well, I didn't notice it until this scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I went back and jumped to the beginning and I was like, oh, there it is. The lockers in the back of the storeroom, did they literally steal those from You Can't Do That on Television? Because it looks exactly, I don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but it looks exactly like those lockers from that show.
Right. Oh, Lannis. Yes, Christine? I'm having a party with Bruce Springsteen. You want to come?
I'm going to throw out an odd guess here and say this was oddly Canadian. Because even the dialogue and the way they approach speaking to one another seemed like Letterkenny.
A little
like
bit.
It's very there is no pause to think about what the other person said. You know what I mean? It's just rapid fire dialogue. And I was excuse me. It threw me off for a minute. And then I was like, oh, Canadian Italians. Clearly this is how you speak.
French Canadians. There's just a lot more A's than O's in Canada.
We don't badmouth the French on this show.
Sure we do.
That's out of bounds.
Yeah, totally out of bounds.
Yeah, we leave those chicken shits alone.
Why talk shit about the French? So next to come into the storage room is Lisa. She is graduating in 1985. They argue about Back to the Future, the year it came out, and what happens if they leave the storage room. So Ella tells everyone that she's over it, doesn't believe in God, so she's angry and like, fuck everybody.
First of all, that's all bullshit.
I respect the work that actors do, you know, and we have a pretty hard, fast rule. We've only broken it a couple of times that we don't rip on actors or actresses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to do it here. Mm-hmm. However, I'm going to apologize to Sofia Dean because when in this script, I'm pretty sure stage direction is just be a bitch the whole movie.
Oh, it's not even that. It's like be the worst version of a human female you can imagine being.
Yes.
Because I was watching this, like, in 5 minutes in, I'm like, yo, if this is what kids are like today, thank God I don't breed. Because I couldn't handle this. I would, I would just Chris Benoit the entire situation. Shout out Canada. I'd lose my fucking mind. There's just no way.
I will say this: she has the right to be elitist for this reason only. I've talked to a lot of people much younger than me. At least 60% of them don't know how to read a clock if it's not digital. So the fact that she's like that smart and going to Yale and all that, okay, you could be like, yeah, I'm the smartest person in the room. And in this room, by the way, in this movie, you are the smartest person in the room. You don't have to act like an asshole though.
I don't know if it's just her personality or if she's like cranking Adderall before she's supposed to give her speech. Because that's what kids like her do, is just
I choose
snort a couple rails.
option B. Option B. There's a lot of Adderall being consumed.
You were correct.
I guess this will be my first harsh critique in this movie. Is
Incoming.
you came close, in my opinion. Just my opinion. And for the record, as we often state, I don't know the entire background of the cast or crew, but you all have one more movie made under your belt than I do. So
Very
my
true.
opinion is worth exactly that much. That being said, I think it would have been funny and would have brought a little more comedy around Ella's just incessant bitchiness if everybody would have had that drug moment, kind of like the Breakfast Club or kind of like the Wanderers, where in the Breakfast Club, they're all smoking weed.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And the Wanderers, they're mainly getting drunk because that's what you did in the early 60s was you pounded the booze as a kid. You have this spectacular moment where you have all of these different eras of drug use in one room.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been fun if you would have had like maybe who's our guy from the 60s? He was drinking.
Tommy.
Right? The acid girl or the hippie chick had acid from the 70s. The 80s
Well, and
girl had
she
cocaine
also-
in her gown.
Yeah.
You know what I
She
mean?
also had the Deb, who was the next one to come in. She's the class of 74.
Yeah.
She has a couple of joints, and they do talk about smoking joints. And Tommy's, from the 60s, he's smoking cigarettes.
Yep.
And Ella puts the kibosh on all of it. Again,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. If you go into, to your point, if you go into like, I don't know, 70s talk. I didn't do any research on 70s vernacular, but if you went, shut up, square, and you just, lit up your joint and did the whole thing, and then everybody gets high, I think you're right. You're on to something.
I would have taken it a step further than because I agree with you. Just having them smoke, I'd have been like, dude, you're not the fucking president of the janitorial closet wormhole room. I'm smoking whatever the fuck I want to smoke when I'm in a time warp situation. Okay? So thank you. I'm doing me.
Yes.
That said, if everybody had the drug of choice from their era, so Deb had the coke, and then, like Ella's like, stop, guys. We're not all fucking gonna be trading drugs. And then her brother's like, bitch, you got crushed up Adderall in your robe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then she kind of, and then they all had that drug moment when they all sat in the circle, and then they're all talking and they're all jazzed up on each other's drugs and fucking around. That would have been funny and would have had almost like that true Breakfast Club moment, because that's where they all came together.
Yeah.
Was after getting high. And then everybody knows when a lot of people get high, it's just like, yeah, when I was in high school, they taped my butt cheeks together. Like you get introspective and you get like really thinking of in your feels sometimes.
Yeah.
So having that expand a little bit to me would have brought some levity, I guess, to just Ella constantly being a downer on every single thing that's happening.
You're enjoying your day, everything's going your way, then along comes Debbie Downer.
my favorite, and I said before we started, Tommy's my favorite.
Mhm.
My favorite part about Tommy is he pulls the classic like Italian thing here. Like he sneaks in, he's from class of 63. He sneaks into the storage room because his wife's graduating. He's 18,
Mhm.
his wife's graduating. He snuck in for a quick fucking heater. He had to rip a quick heater. And then he hears people come in, and he just goes and hides. And does he come out when he realizes it's not like a teacher or a principal? No. He just sits back in the cut and he's like, I'm just going to listen to everybody. He pops out after there's 4 fucking people in there. And he's just like, he just pops out. He's like, what's going on over here? You guys all look fucking weird. You're all stupid. I'm like, dude, that's classic Dago move. I like it.
Well, sometimes it's better to sit back and listen.
I'm not even just a girl like you. That is every single one of you I've met
What
have
do you
done
mean,
that.
you people?
What do you mean, you people?
I don't know.
Yeah, no. Tommy's a great character here just because he is so far outside of the bullshit.
Yeah.
Everybody else is getting sucked into Ella's controlling ways. And Tommy's just like, I'm just fucking sitting here smoking butts. And even when she's like, you need to quit smoking, and trust me, it's not good for you. He's like, dude, this is fucking prescribed by my doctor. Fuck off. You know what I mean? Just like, I don't care what you're saying because you think you know something. Ella is that classic person in this day and age, and mainly a white woman. Just typically, Ella's like 20 years older when she's pulling this white woman shit.
Yeah.
But Ella is that typical, I have zero context about anything in the subject matter whatsoever, but you're still going to get my opinion on it. And it's going to be a strong take.
And I'm going to act like I'm a subject matter expert.
Mm-hmm.
But so Deb here has an idea for all of them to sit in a circle, discuss their personal desires, their biggest obstacles in their lives. And after they argue about how much the others suck, Ryan then opens up about how he's basically an incel. He can't get laid. Nobody likes him. And after some of the others begin to open up, they start to argue about feelings and things. And this is where Cole and Ella start arguing about their relationship, how Ella's a bitch and Cole is lazy. And this is where the Tommy of it all, it kind of really pops out as like the father figure, because he's like, hey, I'm super old school and I'm a plumber. And it doesn't matter that Cole's gay. Like, he goes into this whole thing, although he wouldn't have said that. He would have said some Italian shit like, it doesn't matter that Cole's a little light in the jeans. Like he would say something like that.
Oh, there'd be some nonsense word like a strappoons. What the fuck does that even mean? That's not a word. Yeah, it means fucking gay, but it's not. Hey, no offense. He's just a strappoons. I don't got no problem with it. My cousin's a strappoons. What the fuck does that mean?
Hey, my cousin's a crooked tree branch. What? Okay, cool.
What the fuck does that mean?
God forbid an Italian ever says that somebody's gay.
Yeah. That sentence, I think, was the first time an Italian has ever said those words.
No, because if they were like, hey, this guy over here is gay, everybody would go, oh.
Take it easy.
Hey, you mean he's a bent straw? Is that what you mean?
You were right.
So after Ella and Cole kind of argue about, who's worse, they then discuss
Ella. It's Ella.
It's always Ella.
It's Ella. Can I answer that question?
Yes. Who is it?
Ella. You fucking suck.
So they then discuss social media here for a minute.
This is the best part of the movie.
Okay, this is the best part of the movie, I think, too, because I've always thought about this, like, not about like wormholes and people traveling through time. But to describe social media, like Tommy's mind is kind of blown. He was like, "So you just put all your personal shit out there, like
Dude,
everything that's happening."
this was the first time in my life I'm like, yo, maybe I got some Italian in me, because he's 100% correct. You putting all of your shit out there that's
Yeah.
why I never fucking tweet or post or
Yeah.
anything unless it has to do with this show or some jerk off politician pissing me off. Those are pretty much the two reasons that I tweet.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, and
Even
like,
the 80s girl brings up, like, you talk about politics in public?
well, the funny thing is, Ryan, who is from the 90s, like he's graduating in 96. Ryan, and I don't know if just the character's just dumb, but in 96, AOL was a thing. You know, bing.
Well,
Like,
he even brings up, like, is that the internet?
yeah.
When they showed the phone.
But like the idea that people just like post picture, like it was already headed in that direction. I was like, Ryan, come on. I know
Yeah.
you seem like a poor, you probably don't have the internet yet, but like maybe at school you do.
Well, he's also been slamming that flask.
That's also
for
very
most of his time on film. So
I like that
fucked up and unimaginative. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Bikini Directory, though. What you were getting ready to say?
Yes, the Bikini Directory is fantastic. That he keeps referring to it as that. And by the way, in most '90s, and you and I were, you know, graduating right around this time.
Mhm.
Most '90s kids would just be like, "Oh, chicks just like post themselves in thongs and shit. Like that's the greatest invention ever."
I would have died of
immediately go to, like,
dehydration my sophomore year of high school. Are you fucking kidding me?
Hell yes.
I think when you take kind of a step back and you look at kind of like Ella's position with like, I can wear what I want and I can do what I want. I sort of understand the safeguards you have to put up in order to
Yeah.
be able to have the social media be what it is. Because again, you take us in the 90s with 90s rules and you're just posting yourself in thongs for the entire world to see.
Yeah.
Nothing's getting done across all of America.
Yes.
Literally everything stops. You don't understand
Absolutely.
how much fucking was happening in the 90s. It was insane. Ryan is the only person not getting laid in the 90s. You had to fucking try to not get laid in the 90s. It was I mean, it's literally the craziest time.
Apparently, I was trying real hard. So
I had more sex in high school than I did with my first wife.
What?
Your wife?
They sit around when they start talking here, because they start talking about Clark, the janitor.
Mhm.
They then realize that like at least 4 of them know who this dude is. And they decide that they're going to try to test this portal, right? Deb decides to bite the bullet and leave. And once she walks out the door, they search for her on Cole's phone on social media, and they realize that she died. And
I think this is, I think, outside of the writing with the social media and how they were trying to explain it and all the back and forth with that, I really like this scene too, because Tommy's like, typical fucking 60s dude. Fuck it. I'm going through first. I'm over this. Basically, I would rather die than be in this room with Ella for one more second.
How anybody has lasted this long in this room with this person is beyond me.
First off, we've already brought up that we're Gen X. We're from the 90s. This is our high school era, is the 90s.
Yeah.
I would have OJ'd the fuck out of this bitch. And as I'm sawing her head off, allegedly, I would have asked if she knew any waiters or had any friends that were waiters so I can kill them as well.
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
No, like I like this writing because Deb stops him and is like, no, don't go. You have a wife and kid. You're the last person that should try this first. Which again, kudos to good writing, because I was literally thinking, don't go, Tommy. You have a wife and kids. What the fuck are you doing? So good job. You're starting to make me actually give a shit about these characters.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well,
Other
and this
than
is
anger.
where, yeah, and this is where Clark comes in.
Yep.
He explains that they can leave, but it's a timing thing. And he then goes on to explain pretty much nothing. This is like 5 minutes of Clark stuttering and stammering. And then finally, him and Lisa go off to the side because obviously they're connected in some way. So he goes to Lisa. He explains that they fell in love at her graduation party. They got married, but apparently she died.
Yeah, and this to me, for me, is probably the most aggravating part of the movie. Is because we're all looking for some sort of answer to just something concrete. We know
Yeah.
it has something to do with time, but we don't know exactly what's happening. And Clark comes in and does the, I don't know if I should tell you. Okay. I don't know. Wait, ask me another inane question that I can answer, but then I don't know if I should tell you anymore. It's like, bro, when you figure it out, come in the room.
By the way,
Until then, don't walk in here acting like a goddamn authority figure and then going, oh, I don't know, and pissing your pants because your girlfriend that died is sitting right across from you.
well,
Fuck off, white bread. Either
well,
figure it out or get the fuck out of my room.
figure it the fuck out, guy. No, this is where like Tommy like grabs him by the shirt, he throws him on the couch, and then they all start like getting in on him, like, dude, what the fuck, for real. Tommy
This
doesn't
is an
let
Armando move.
And this is totally a me move. Tommy, and just the FYI, this isn't a me move. This isn't a Tommy move because we don't give him. The only reason I brought up how long he stuttered and stammered about the whole thing is because neither me nor Tommy would let this shit last past 30 seconds. 30 seconds of like, I don't know if I should tell you. I don't know. Dude, Tommy's not even grabbing him. Tommy's just going boop. And then when he wakes up, he's like, all right, now what the fuck happened? How the fuck do we get out of here? Like, that's what happens next with Tommy.
You were correct.
After all this, Lisa and Clark leave the storage room together. Soon thereafter, Deb shows up again, and they aren't sure if they should tell her that she dies. Ryan, of course, the 90s kid, finally is just like, hey, you're going to die. So he wants to clean up the timeline like John Connor. So he tells her.
Which I thought was fucking hysterical. Maybe I'm here to clean up the timeline because he's the one who's like rapid firing questions constantly at everyone.
They're all about movies. They're all about movies.
All of them. All of his. I was so connected to Ryan in this. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Ryan outside of the virginity is basically me. And I am into it. That being said,
you have sex.
No, I used to. I used to. Turns out I have a YouTube show. Doesn't flood anybody's basement. It's just not what's happening these days.
I heard the Y at the beginning of YouTube, and I thought you were going to say, turns out I have a yeast infection. But
no, UTI. I have a permanent UTI. It is aggressive and it burns.
So Ella here then takes a selfie of the rest of them that are left. She invites them all to their graduation in 2024. Tommy then leaves the storage room. Cole and Ella leave right after. And then Ryan takes a stab at trying to get laid again with Deb. And they kiss for like 2 seconds, and then she and Ryan both leave.
This was a missed opportunity. Ryan being hung up on his virginity.
Yep.
As an 18-year-old from the 70s.
Yes.
Now, I said we was fucking in the 90s. Not like them in the 70s. We had way too many diseases in the 90s. You know why? Because the people in the 70s fucked so much they made new diseases.
Yes.
That's why all that shit started existing. This would have been a good comic moment where Ryan wasn't even attempting to get laid, right? It's just he's being nice. He likes her, and because he likes her and he's a virgin, he's a little shy and kind of weird. And she makes the move and they end up banging it. That's the comedy right there. And even when they show up here at the end, because they all do show back up, Ryan still's like, hey, Deb. You know what I mean? Throws her a little what's up still, because he's still hung up on his first time, as most people would be. So I think that was, again, another comedic missed opportunity. Yeah. And I get it as a writer wanting to avoid tropes and cliches. We talk about it all the time on this show. It's a cliche. It didn't work. This is a constant trope. We're sick of seeing this. This, though, again, where you don't have a lot of like comedic bits, would have been a good cliche one that would have, again, brought some levity to the fact that Deb's gonna fucking die. Lisa's gonna fucking die. You know what I mean? Like, we're starting to get into some weird territory here with death and how fragile life is and take advantage of every moment. This would have been an example of that. Taking advantage of the moment, banging one out, taking one for the team, Deb, and moving on.
I just think that Deb would have been super surprised that, like, you don't have a bush in the 90s. Like, that's not a thing. And your dick's clean. I don't know. For 70s, I think everybody's just it's just filthy down there. Like, that's what I think of the 70s.
I wish I could have found out for you. That's what, if I went to a time portal, I would go on a sex tourism trip through every decade. And it just gets progressively dirtier and hairier as you go back in time.
If time travel gets invented in our lifetime, Corey will have the first like startup business, and it'll be like sex time travel.
Oh yeah, fuck you, Thailand and ladyboy fucking. We're doing it. We're doing a Gangnam Style now, bro.
But this movie ends at Cole and Ella's graduation. So they walk out. They go to their graduation. Afterwards, Tommy, Ryan, Clark, and Deb show up to say hello. Clark lets everybody know that Lisa died of cancer, and that was the whole thing with her. And the movie ends as Cole invites them to his and Ella's graduation party at like their house. Which this is the one thing about like time travel like type movies. How the fuck do you explain these old ass bitches like showing up to your house to your parents? Like, this is Tommy. He's our friend.
Yeah, well, their parents are pretty terrible. We get an idea of why these two argue so much. Is basically they're flip flopped. The mom is the boy, and Ella is her father, which is to say her father's a piece of shit.
Yes. For the 4 seconds that he's in the movie,
I sort of like this because it almost seemed awkward between all of them when they show up. Like, there's a lot of weird silence and standing around in between the dialogue, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, you're all old around these two like 18-year-olds who just graduated. Like, your common bond ended in the time warp locker room. That's where it was done.
Yeah.
So like this being awkward would have played out, but Ella like, you guys want to come to our party? Oh yeah, I ain't got nothing else to do. Come on now. That ain't happening. Right. And I also don't like the fact that Lisa still died. She was the 80s chick, right?
Yeah.
I don't like that she still died because they kind of have this discussion of fate. And whether or not, no matter what you do, it's almost like, she was still fated to die early. He didn't say she died of cancer last year.
Yeah.
He said she just died of cancer.
Yeah, there's the flip-flop though, because Deb died in a car accident a week after graduation. And when they go to like the cards at the end, like, this is what happened to them and yada yada.
That's right.
It said that Deb basically stayed in her house after graduation all summer just to make sure that she wasn't going to die after graduation. So like, she changed her fate, but that was a car accident. Cancer's cancer.
Yeah. Cancer sucks.
Yeah. So
let's end this review by talking about cancer. How has it affected your life?
No beggar to spare you, Debbie, please, but you can't stop Debbie Downer.
I think you're right in some aspects. There was some missed opportunities.
Mhm.
I would have liked more of not necessarily a soundtrack. Listen, I totally like you can't use, especially for an independent film, you're not buying rights to music. But you can get stuff that sounds like that era's type music. You could do that. You could just have like a score or something along that. There was just a lot of there wasn't a lot of ambient sound during a lot of the scenes, so there was just a lot of quiet. So like that was one of the for me that was one of the things that stuck out. That might be just nitpicking, but that was one of the things that stuck out for me.
Yeah, no, I think what we had briefly discussed before we got started that we both had the thought that this felt like a play. It was a staged performance, and largely,
Yes.
I think you bringing up the music is largely where that comes from,
Yeah.
because unless it is a musical, there's no music in a fucking play. It is solely based on the dialogue and the
Yes.
performance of the actors,
I
which
think
is how this felt.
Yeah, I think this would be incredible on stage.
Oh yeah, this would be a great stage play, and
Yeah.
I'm confident it probably was at some point.
Yeah.
That being said, in my opinion, I really liked it. I think it's a really good idea, and I like
It's
leaning so
original.
heavily on like the Breakfast Club, but with these different eras coming together, just
Yeah.
basically to figure out we were all full of shit. We are still full of shit. Everything we're doing is bullshit. And the
Yes.
things you actually think are important really are not. Like when Ella, dude, I almost threw my fucking phone through a goddamn window watching this today. When Ella goes, I'm important. I post something and I get like 1,000 likes.
and you post something and you get like just your
5
friends.
friends. Dude,
dude, I was wringing my hands. I was like, oh my God.
I look like a cartoon. Steam was coming out of my
Yeah.
ears. I was
You
beat
talk
red.
about OJ, that's the scene.
Yeah.
That's the comment. I was like, it's curtains, Rock. Like it's
For
fucking
real.
over. It's over.
So
no,
like
I mean,
a lot of these general concepts that are in the movie, the setting overall, I love all of it.
Yeah.
I think there were some opportunities missed with some comedy that you could have brought in from time to time. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that there just needed to be some sort of music or background noise to
background
just
noise is fine, even if it's
keep
like
us focused on the
it's a
dialogue.
storage room. Just even if it's just like a heater, something, just some ambient noise, something along those lines that would either kick on or off throughout the movie. But just whatever. Just that was kind of my one thing. I like the characters, and I like the concept. Listen, I'm never gonna shit on I'm not gonna shit on many independent films because, again, to your point from the beginning, they've created one more movie than I have because I have this many on my little notch. But so I'm not gonna knock anybody for an independent film, but like the idea and the premise for this movie is I love originality. And to your point, let's take the Breakfast Club, but from these different eras. It's a great concept. So
No, it really is. I have no real issue with this movie. I wish George would have called me in to help punch up some of the comedy.
Corey shamelessly begs for a job.
For
of
reshoots.
course you would. Of course,
but that's just that's just me. I always think, look, bro, Aaron Sorkin should be contacting me to punch up some stuff in his scripts.
We know Corey.
Okay,
we know Corey.
All that being said, though, no, I really like the movie. I agree with you. It's very original. And for an independent movie and putting all this together, you did a great job. You made me actually have emotional reactions to some of the characters. I really, really identified with Ryan being from the 90s myself. So I think you hit that guy. The one guy I can truly say I understand and know because I grew up with him.
Yeah.
You nailed him perfectly. Hit the nail right on the head with that. So overall, I mean, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. I would recommend people check it out, especially if you like these kind of high school coming of age stories. I just wish to God Ella didn't need to die.
Well, ended on that note, because in Corey's version, she gets OJ'd. For Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 2024's Waning Poetic.